It started as a promise, a software system designed by Fujitsu to modernize the post office, to bring efficiency and accuracy to thousands of branches. But that promise turned into a nightmare. Horizon was expected to deliver progress, but instead it brought chaos. Far from providing solutions, it became the catalyst for one of Britain's most profound miscarriages of justice. This is the story of Horizon, a story of manipulation, abuse of power, and lives shattered beyond repair. Our story begins in the late 1990s. The Horizon software system had its roots in a 1996 Private Finance Initiative contract, PFI. A private finance initiative is a way for the public sector to finance big public works projects through the private sector. PFIs take the burden off governments and taxpayers in terms of raising capital for the projects. Initially, it was conceived as a joint project between the Post Office, the Benefits Agency, subsequently the Department for Work and Pensions, and the British Computer Company, ICL. The original goal was to create a swipe card system for pension and benefit payments at post office counters. In 1998, Japanese IT giant Fujitsu acquired ICL, the very UK software company that had been developing Horizon. This acquisition brought Fujitsu into the project, making them in charge and responsible for the software's continued development and implementation. In 1999, the original swipe card project was abandoned after significant losses, estimated at around £700 million. However, to salvage something from this failed scheme, the Post Office decided to repurpose Horizon. Against the advice of its IT specialists, the Post Office chose to use the system to transform its paper-based branch accounting into an electronic system covering all post office services. The Horizon system was rolled out across the post office network. In the year 2000, it became the largest non-military IT contract in Europe at the time. The software was installed in approximately 14,000 post office branches, replacing traditional paper-based accounting practices. Unfortunately, problems with the system started to emerge almost immediately and would have dire consequences later on. While the Horizon software was intended to streamline operations, it was plagued by critical flaws that caused widespread disruption for sub-postmasters. These issues not only undermined the system's reliability, but also had serious consequences for those tasked with managing their branches. One significant problem was the calendar square bug. This bug caused transactions to temporarily disappear from the system. Unaware of the issue, sub-postmasters would re-enter these transactions to balance their accounts. However, when the system restarted, the original transactions reappeared, resulting in duplicate entries and apparent financial discrepancies. Another flaw, known as the Dalmellington bug, created multiple erroneous entries in the ledger. This occurred whenever a user pressed Enter to unfreeze the interface, inadvertently generating duplicate records for the same transaction. Data syncing issues were also prevalent. Horizon would often fail to properly sync records between branch terminals and central servers. This led to mismatched accounts and unexplained shortfalls that were blamed on sub-postmasters. These technical issues not only disrupted business operations, but also created a climate of mistrust and uncertainty. For many sub-postmasters, the consequences of these flaws would go far beyond mere inconvenience. Syama Misra, a 33-year-old sub-postmistress of Indian origin, became one of the most heart-wrenching faces of the Horizon scandal. In 2010, she was convicted of theft and false accounting after discrepancies in her accounts appeared, discrepancies caused entirely by the Horizon software. Seema was sentenced to 15 months in prison, despite being 8 weeks pregnant at the time. She served 4 months before her release, but was forced to wear an electronic tag, even after giving birth to her second child. To add to her anguish, she was ordered to pay £40,000 in compensation to the post office. The case shattered her life, leaving scars not just on her but on her entire family. Over a decade later, in April 2021, Seema's conviction was finally overturned. But for her, the apologies from officials came too late and the damage was irreparable.
No, you were pregnant at the time of your conviction, only learnt of it many years later, and he said it makes it even more tragic. Do you believe that he understands the impact it's had on your life?
Nobody can understand. I went through it. I went through it. Nobody can understand it.
It's still really difficult for you to speak
It is.
about, I know.
It is, yeah.
Do you want to take a moment?
No, that's fine. Sorry, go on, yeah.
You still don't have closure, clearly. Why is that? Why is it you still can't find closure? This isn't giving it to you.
It's not. Today I'm here to hear from Mr. Jenkins. Why did he did what he did? That's what I wanted to hear.
And do you feel you're getting those answers?
Not yet. Only half a day gone yet. Not yet.
Seema Misra wouldn't be the only victim affected by the Horizon software. Martin Griffiths was a dedicated sub-postmaster, a loving husband, and a proud father. In 1995, he and his wife purchased the Hope Farm Road Post Office in Ellesmere Port for £100,000, intending to run the business until retirement. For years, Martin managed the post office, while his wife and mother-in-law oversaw the retail side of the business. But everything changed in 2009. Discrepancies began to appear in the accounts, some small, others alarmingly large. The post office insisted these shortfalls were Martin's responsibility. He was repeatedly questioned about how he intended to repay the missing money, with no legal representation or support offered. Despite his protests, the post office treated him as though he were the only sub-postmaster facing such issues. Over the years, the situation worsened. Martin was suspended twice without pay, and in July 2013 was given 3 months' notice of termination. This looming deadline, combined with the relentless accusations, pushed him deeper into despair. Between borrowing from family, depleting their savings, and taking on additional debt, Martin and his family paid back over £102,000 to the post office. But the pressure didn't stop there. In 2013, Martin was the victim of a violent armed robbery. He was attacked with a crowbar while the thieves made off with over £10,000. Instead of supporting Martin during this traumatic time, the post office demanded he repay the stolen money. This was yet another devastating blow. On September 23, 2013, a month before his termination, Martin made the heartbreaking decision to end his life. He deliberately walked in front of an oncoming bus. Though he was taken to the hospital and placed on life support, he never regained consciousness. Martin sadly passed away on October 11, 2013. In the wake of Martin's death, internal emails revealed the post office's chilling focus, not on Martin's suffering or the impact on his family, but on managing potential media fallout. No acknowledgement was made of their role in his ordeal. Eventually, the post office paid Martin's family £140,000 in compensation, but the payment came with a gagging order, silencing them from publicly speaking about their grief or the injustice they had endured. Alan Bates, a former sub-postmaster from Cregydon in North Wales, is widely regarded as one of the first to uncover the cracks in the post office's Horizon IT system. His journey began in the 1990s, managing a local post office with pride and dedication. But the introduction of Horizon in 2000 marked the start of an ordeal that would transform his life forever. Shortly after Horizon was installed in his branch, discrepancies began appearing in his accounts. Large sums of money were seemingly unaccounted for. Alan knew he hadn't made any mistakes, but the post office insisted otherwise. They blamed him and demanded that he cover the alleged shortfalls himself. Despite Alan's repeated protests, the post office refused to investigate the system. In 2003, the post office terminated Alan's contract after he refused to accept liability for the discrepancies. He lost not only his job, but also the £65,000 he had invested in the business. The financial and emotional toll was devastating. Unlike many others in his position, Alan refused to walk away quietly. He knew something was deeply wrong with the Horizon system and decided to investigate further. Over the years, Alan began connecting with other sub-postmasters who were experiencing similar issues, unexplained shortfalls, accusations of theft, and financial ruin. Realizing the scale of the problem, he founded the Justice for Sub-Postmasters Alliance, or JFSA, in 2009. Through the JFSA, Alan provided a platform for sub-postmasters to share their stories, pool evidence, and demand answers from the post office. His efforts marked the beginning of a grassroots movement to uncover the truth about Horizon. In 2009, Alan's cause gained national attention when Computer Weekly published a groundbreaking article exposing the plight of sub-postmasters. The story highlighted their struggles and cast doubt on the reliability of the Horizon system, vindicating Alan's early suspicions. In 2012, the Post Office reluctantly appointed forensic accountants from Second Sight to review Horizon. Ron Warmington and Ian Henderson, leading the investigation, uncovered damning evidence. Horizon was riddled with bugs, crashes, and syncing failures. These defects were never disclosed to the sub-postmasters being prosecuted. But the real breakthrough came in 2017. 555 sub-postmasters, led by Alan Bates, launched a High Court case against the Post Office. Over the next 2 years, shocking details emerged. Justice Peter Fraser, in his 2019 ruling, confirmed what many suspected. Horizon had numerous defects capable of creating unexplained shortfalls. The system wasn't just flawed, it was catastrophically unreliable. The fallout from the High Court ruling triggered a statutory public inquiry in 2021, a formal investigation designed to examine every layer of this scandal, from the Post Office's reckless prosecutions to Fujitsu's complicity in the cover-up. One figure at the centre of the scandal is Paula Venables, the Post Office CEO from 2012 to 2019. During her tenure, the organisation aggressively prosecuted sub-postmasters based on Horizon's faulty data. Under her leadership, 700 people were charged with crimes such as theft and false accounting. Internal emails suggest Venables knew of the issues but downplayed their severity, calling Horizon the backbone of post office operations. Despite mounting evidence, prosecutions continued unabated. Fujitsu also played a pivotal role. In 2021, Paul Patterson, Fujitsu's European CEO, admitted the company had identified bugs in Horizon as early as 2010. Yet this information was never disclosed in courtrooms, where innocent sub-postmasters fought to clear their names. Fujitsu executives, including Patterson and former Horizon project director Gareth Jenkins, face questions about why these flaws were concealed and how this silence contributed to wrongful prosecutions. Even the legal teams involved are under scrutiny. Allegations against the Post Office's law firm, Womble Bond Dickinson, suggest they withheld evidence that could have exonerated sub-postmasters. The inquiry has revealed a troubling pattern of negligence or deliberate suppression. The public inquiry has already led to the quashing of over 80 wrongful convictions, but the fight for accountability is far from over. Alan Bates continues to lead the charge, demanding full compensation and answers from those who orchestrated this decades-long miscarriage of justice. By December 2019, the Post Office conceded, agreeing to a settlement of £58 million. However, after legal fees, only £11 million was left for distribution among the claimants. The fight for justice continued as convictions began to be overturned. In December 2020, 6 sub-postmasters had their convictions quashed. By April 2021, an additional 39 wrongful convictions were overturned in a landmark case. The UK Post Office held a unique position as a private prosecutor. This special status allowed it to independently investigate and prosecute cases separate from the Crown Prosecution Service. However, this capability has been under scrutiny due to conflicts of interest, as the Post Office acted as victim, investigator and prosecutor simultaneously. The Post Office stopped undertaking private prosecutions related to Horizon in 2015 and has stated it has no intention of doing so in the future. In response to the scandal and subsequent miscarriages of justice, legislative changes were introduced. On March 13, 2024, the UK government introduced the Post Office Horizon System Offences Bill to automatically quash wrongful convictions. This legislation marked a pivotal moment in delivering justice to those affected. The government established a new Horizon Convictions Redress Scheme to provide swift compensation. Around £179 million had been paid to over 2,800 victims. Affected sub-postmasters were offered interim payments and a final settlement option of £600,000. The scandal regained public attention with media coverage and a TV series titled Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. The Metropolitan Police launched investigations into potential offences of perjury related to the prosecutions. The Horizon scandal serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of over-reliance on technology, particularly when combined with a lack of oversight, transparency, and accountability. As technology and artificial intelligence, AI, continue to evolve and integrate deeper into our lives, the lessons of Horizon become even more relevant. I hope you enjoyed this video and wish you a pleasant day.